Hey folks, I thought I'd dig up some relics from the past, and one of them here is Windows 95, but the one I want to play is called Spacebucks, and it's optimized for 256 color displays, and I don't care because I'm not going to go through the hassle of just make sure animations are a wee bit smoother. Alright, so Spacebucks, it's essentially a market management game. You're developing a shipping company, and your goal is to defeat the other players. I gotta go with Planet Express because Galactic Express is default. It's too close to Planet Express. Gotta do it, and I always pick green. Kind of just shows up better. Alright, so the races don't really mean anything. Are really anything important. The only differences between them all is that different races want different luxury goods, and that can kind of come into play late game whenever you can actually start developing those. But for now, I'm going to be the snow globe looking guys, because I don't know, it's just fun to start out with, looking entirely bizarre. Alright, so let's pause so game time doesn't screw me over here a little bit. So, just taking a quick look, our planet we start out with, Vector, generally all of them start out as DL3. That's just means that their development level is 3 out of 6, and it just tells you how much stuff they produce, essentially. How much stuff they produce, what they have, and how fast they'll refresh it. The higher their advancement, the more goods they'll have just sitting around, and the faster they'll refresh for your ships coming in to deliver back out. Right now, of course, starting out, one planet isn't going to be a very successful business because we can't ship to ourselves. We need to get some other ports to land in. Now, you have several options. You can go for the higher DL. The higher DL places will cost you more, but at the same time, they'll start out with, you can see these guys have a lot more materials to start out with. 4 of each of these 3. It's pretty good to start with. Whereas if you click on one of these, that's actually a pretty decent one for a one primitive. And some of these are pretty good. Like this, yeah, see, this particular primitive one has only 3 goods to trade, but these ones actually have a decent amount, which means they actually might be good to pick up. So, starting out, let's go ahead and we'll pick up one of these DL3 ones, because they're not expensive, but they're not cheap. They're pretty easy to fulfill their needs for. This just means that they need you to send them people once a year at least on your trips, which isn't too hard, especially since everybody has people to send. So we'll hit unpause. We gotta let time pass so that the deal can go through. Essentially, it gives the game time for when you get later on, if places are under a lot of wheeling and dealing from other corporations, that gives them time that they can actually throw a bid in, or vice versa, you can throw a bid in on a planet that somebody else is trying to bid on. But early on, nobody's really going to fight over too many planets. There's still a lot available. So, we've got one ship, the Planet Express ship, of course, and we're going to create a route for it, which is pretty easy since we only have 2 planets. Now, you have to, even after you complete that, you want to make sure you configure the cargo, because the default is just throwing a bunch of random stuff around in the hold, and, well, particular planets might not have those things. So the basics of it is that you're going to trade things for profit, and most planets will have the basic 4, or some degree of the basic 4. As you can see here, this one's got 4 food, 4 human, or 4 people, and 3 units of fuel. And each of them have a different profitability to them. As you can see, people worth the most, then food, ores worth the least, fuel is the third best. So whenever you can, you always want to fill up on people and then food. And they have a decent amount to send off, so we're going to send it off. And then we'll go to the leg back from Ampere. They don't have any food, so we're going to have to substitute in fuel instead. And they have one less person, so let's get rid of that. Now you can sell on the screen here that they've got this red band around them, which means that they need people sent to them to fulfill a contract. This will turn green whenever that's been satisfied for the year. You can also click on this to turn on the wait till full, which means that they'll sit around. Usually the ships will come in, it'll give them like 2 or 3 seconds to fill up on goods and then take off again. You click wait till full, they will hang around until all three, or whatever your configuration is. It'll wait around until that configuration is met, then take that, and then take off. Which, early on, you don't need to worry so much about unless you have a lot of routes going through one planet. And you kind of want to avoid that early on. It's not until you get later that you can really start to have a lot of ships go through one particular planet. And if you haven't gone through one planet, you want to make sure that planet is much higher on the development level chart. So now we've got our ship, we're tracking our ship, essentially. And you can see what all we've got shipping out and how much money we're making on it. Which isn't bad. Why are they not getting fuel? This is kind of baffling me a little bit here. What the? A wee bit of a bug, I think. Alright, let's try this again. Let's try this again, Chief. Alright. You need to get fuel. Because that's what I sent you there for. Now I'll confirm it. We'll see if it changes anything next time around. Alright, see, they're picking up their food, their people. They should be dropping off, picking up fuel, and... Alright, well, I'll mess with that a little later. So, the next thing we need to do is build one more, or not build one more, but grab one more planet for our food. These guys got food? I want to click on the planet, thank you. Yes, they do. So let's go ahead and take Cural Becquerel. It is a more developed planet, so the price is going to be a little bit more expensive. They're going to want food every year, but since Vector has food, it shouldn't be too hard to procure some of it and send it to Becquerel to meet the demand. So the early game is really the most difficult part about it. You want to make a profitable business early on so that you can continue to grow outwards. Because if you don't, the computer players will, and you need to make sure that you're making enough money that you can cover continued growth. Otherwise, you're going to end up losing. So, come on, planet. I'll have the rights to it. The big differences between the lower and the upper level planets, the fact it takes longer to bid them out like that. It also costs more per quarter. You can see the quarterly contract here is that the 2488, 2988, 1488 for that one. Now I'm gonna try to bid these two smaller planets out, and you can see that they'll cost me 500 for level 1. Again, the problem is that you're looking at these planets, and the higher planets, the higher development level, they start out with a lot more materials to them. So right away, you're going to get more profit back on those routes, whereas these other routes are going to cost you less, but you're going to make less profit. However, it is pretty easy to develop levels, or to add development levels. Especially once you get shipping lanes out to them, it will just take a matter of time. And within a year or two, they might be level 2 or even level 3, which will put them up to where we're at with other planets. So you kind of have to, you want to kind of balance between the two. If you spend all your money going after only big planets, you're gonna end up having a lot of expenses trying to get routes that you can develop into on less developed planets for cheaper. Alright, we need to go back to Vector and then Becquerel. That's going to be the new additional route. And we're going to need to go in and edit that so that it's bringing what we need to bring to where we need to bring it. Alright, so we've got 4 people and 4 food. And we're going to ship those out to Becquerel, and something like that. And then these guys have the same things, and we're just going to send them right back, because food and people are more profitable than ore and fuel. And for some reason, the game doesn't seem to want to take fuel and send it anywhere. Silly game. Right, we want to watch. I see it actually got it that time. Maybe it's just a little hiccup, I don't know. But now we're up and going, and somehow they native 144 for that. What? I'm not sure what happened. I'll keep an eye out, and we're gonna watch it real quick. And then I want to call it good here because I don't want to get too far into the strategy that is Spacebucks or Spreadsheets the game, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna put a bid on dough real quick. Yep, see, not any time at all. And we're going to build a new ship because we need another ship to go out to these other places. Now you can see here it tells you the different various numbers that go on throughout the game. They'll increase, they'll get better, you'll have more space. You can add shields and weapons, which aren't terribly important right off the bat, but later on you'll have pirates show up every once in a while, and the better geared up your ships are, the better they all will be able to defend themselves from attack without you having to just spend money to fix the problem. This particular model here has got 4 bays. It's also a little bit faster than the Sparrow, but the maintenance cost is 6,000, whereas the Sparrow here costs a little bit more, but the maintenance cost is much less, speed is a little bit less, and it's got 10 spaces. So I always start building Sparrows, and I call them Junkmans. Junkman 1. And so now we've got Junkman 1 sitting around, doing nothing. And we're going to make a route out of him. He's going to go over to here and go back to Vector. For now, that'll be the route. We might change things around a little bit in the next video, but let's get this route set up and then call it good. So you'll notice they don't quite have as much to ship around, these lower level planets, which can be kind of a pain early on, but we'll iron things out a little bit. Like these guys don't have, or they have fuel, and like I said, once you get them developed up a little bit higher, they'll have more supplies to send. So it won't be forever that they're stuck sending junk. There we go. Yeah, it won't be forever that they're unprofitable or anything. They just... Actually, they'll be profitable from the beginning. They just won't be as profitable as other locations are. Oh, you know what? Never forget that people and food send for more than fuel and ore. So make sure you, if you've got a lot of those to ship around, ship those over anything else. And since this planet vector might be getting a little heavy going back and forth between those two locations, I'm going to set it to wait until full, so that way this route 2 gets to get a decent chunk of those supplies. And now that ship will take off. And you see, we're going to make a little modest cash off these smaller routes back and forth. Some development already going on, except not with the ones that I was hoping for. But development is development. And what you'll want to do is you'll want to go back into the route and change what they're sending up, because now they have more stuff to send. But we'll mess with that a little bit later. Keep an eye on. Yeah, so it's sat there and waited and got its full delivery, and bam, off to go. And one last thing we're going to check on before I close this out. The fleet screen here will show you essentially what all you've got, what all money you're making off any of your ships, and what they're carrying, or what they're carrying armaments-wise. The important thing now, though, is to click on the ship, and it'll show you a list of all the legs of their journey, and tell you how much the money they're making off those current legs. This will help you really keep an eye on the efficiency of your routes, because early on, that's the most important thing. The computer is very shrewd about how it manipulates the numbers, and you need to be right on your game, otherwise you're not making a profit. And the game is all about making a profit. Alright, so we'll mess around with a little bit more, I'll show a little bit more off next time, but for now, let's screw up the emulator window again and save it. Let us try to save LP1 for the 17th time. Alright, folks, until next time, have a good one.